Hey, real quick, Steven, like so we talked about this on the phone, but the audience doesn't know yet. Why now are you so convinced that this incident took place on Marked for Death as opposed to what everybody thinks, what everyone's been saying for probably 20 plus years, that they think it was on Out for Justice? Why are you so convinced now that it was Marked for Death? Hey guys, I almost feel like the universe didn't want this Mandela Effect video out there. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't recording. Let's just redo that real quick. The beauty of editing. Yeah, you're used to this. This happens all the time in your world, so cut. But luckily, we got it all recorded. I'll talk a little bit about the Mandela Effect a little later on this video, my thoughts on it. So this is an update to a prior video. Truth finally revealed on Seagal and LeBell according to actual eyewitness Steven Lambert testimony, which I'll link in the description below. This video will also address some comments that prior video received as far as like when Steven Lambert ran off to get Conrad Palmisano, and then Steven Lambert's use of the phrase Seagal never pissed his pants, but didn't really mention he didn't go number 2, so people are questioning that. We're also going to be talking about a couple incidents where Steven Seagal's people tried to reach out to Steven Lambert, and they did record his testimony, but for whatever reason that was never released. He does talk about it in his book, From the Streets of Brooklyn to the Halls of Hollywood. I highly recommend this book. It's an amazing read. I'm going to link it in the description below if you guys want to buy it from Amazon. Steven Lambert also has a message to all those interviews out there who might get lucky enough to interview Steven Seagal in the future. Oh, and make sure to stay until the end of the video because I'm going to do a special Steven Lambert edition of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is where I address a good, a bad, and an ugly comment. It's always kind of fun. So make sure to stick around for that. Want to help support the channel? Give it a like, please, and make sure to subscribe if you like this kind of content. So you wanted to correct a detail on the whole Steven Seagal getting choked out by Gene LeBell story, a minor detail, but somebody had posted on your Facebook page, and you come to realize that, oh yeah, maybe that's right about what movie it actually took place on. Can you share that?
Well, I checked it out. 46 years or so in the business. When you hear names of shows, when you work for people, you really don't pay attention to the names unless you're the stunt coordinator, unless it's something important. So all these years, everybody's been saying Out for Justice. I saw a comment on your page, and I looked into it, and it's Marked for Death. That was the name of the movie. I worked for Out for Justice, even though my name isn't on it. But it was for Marked for Death. You'll see my name. You'll see Lincoln Simon's name. You won't see Gene LeBell's name.
Sure. And why don't we see Gene LeBell's name on there?
Well, I can just assume, and guess that, they didn't want anything of substance relating to Gene LeBell. And they just, when it comes to IMDb and your credits, we have no control.
Sure.
It's all up to them. So, there's no law about it. So, they just decided to take it out.
Yeah, since there was, an altercation of sorts between Seagal and LeBell, I could see why maybe even Seagal told them to take it out. Who knows?
It could be, but it even makes it worse. And it makes it humorous in a way. Just thinking about if it didn't happen, why would they take his name out? And also, if I may say, let's move on. If it didn't happen, I want all the interviewers out there, the ones who get lucky enough to do an interview with Steven Seagal. Remember this, okay? I happened to, this past couple of days, turn on some videos, Steven Seagal talking about it, because I really never looked into it. I could care less,
sure.
Right? But now that this whole thing has come out and I've told the truth, I wanted to see what he's had to say.
We were standing there, we were just talking about moves and stuff like that, and we were just doing some stretching.
And I have to tell you, he's a damn good actor. He really is. And, he just misleads the audience with a straight face. If that never happened, let me pose to the interviewers who get lucky enough to do an interview with him. If that never happened, ask him these questions. Number one, our first meeting. First of all, 2 years or so, they were trying to get me on the phone to agree to this meeting. I ignored it for 2 years. So ask him about that. Mm-hmm. Steven Seagal didn't call me. his followers did. Whoever was his main guy called me, never answered the phone. Up until one time, I answered and I said, no, I don't want to do it. And then the next time, Conrad Parmesan called me, and you can ask them this. And because it was Conrad Parmesan, I agreed with one condition, like I mentioned before. I'm not going to talk about anything. I'll just tell him he didn't. Oh, by the way, exit that. Okay. For the audience, there was no peeing in the pants. There was no convulsions. Gene LeBell didn't put him in a headlock and shave his head. Gene LeBell didn't circumcise him. Gene LeBell didn't put him to sleep. Gene LeBell didn't make him go number 2.
Okay, thanks for pointing that out, because that's a common comment, because people were so fixated. Well, he just said he didn't pee his pants. He never said number 2. So there we go. You're saying he never went number 2 either.
He never did anything but what I told you in the book and to you.
And then real quick, Steven, so another common comment, they're saying, so you technically left the scene to run and get Conrad Palmisano. So people in the comments are speculating, well, he wasn't technically there the whole time. So maybe in however amount of time you were gone, that happens. How would you respond?
Well, that's a good point. I see where you're going with that, whoever mentioned that, but literally it was a matter of seconds. And after the fact, the people you were with, which was Lincoln Simon, you always gossip, right?
Sure, of course.
Conversation about that, and nothing happened. They were just, nothing would happen. After I pose you the question, audience, and you, David, if I knocked you on your butt with 2 bodyguards by your side, would you retaliate again? Would you be, especially if I was Gene LeBell? Lincoln and I talked about it. Nothing happened. It was literally a matter of seconds. You'd be surprised, how fast things go.
Sure.
I ran, then I ran back, a few seconds running, a few seconds trying to wake up Conrad Parmisano, and then a few seconds to run back. You can come up and conjure up anything, what if, but what I told you in the book, that's exactly what happened, nothing else. So let me move on to what I was saying. So Conrad convinced me to come. I said, under one condition. All I'm going to say is he didn't pee in his pants, didn't go into convulsions, and he didn't go number 2 in his pants. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to talk about anything else, because if I did, I thought, they would cut me off. They would ask me to leave.
Sure.
Second of all, we might get into a confrontation. And I told Conrad that over the phone. So he said, okay, agreed. That's all I want you to say, because those were the main points, right? So we went to have a meeting at a restaurant, a big coffee shop. Conrad, myself, and Seagal, right? We had a meeting. We talked about it. The plan was, and that's all I said to him. Introduced, said, hi, good to see you. We talked about old times. And I was nervous because I didn't want him to get me into a situation where, I had to tell him the truth.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The truth that Steven Lambert's referring to here is the part that Gene LeBell did take Steven Seagal to the ground, but really the only truth that Steven Seagal wants to acknowledge is that he never went 1 or 2, never got unconscious, but doesn't really want to seem to acknowledge that, well, he did get taken down by Gene LeBell.
Mm. And I told Conrad that on the phone, explain that to him. What if he says, let me hear what you think really happened? I didn't want to get into that because I knew one of us were going to get up to leave. It's common sense. But I told Conrad that. And when I had the meeting at the restaurant, I said, that's all I said, I agreed to do this video. All I'm going to say, Steven, which is true, you didn't pee in your pants. You didn't go into convulsions. You didn't, do a number 2. He agreed. So Conrad set up the meeting at a very good friend of ours' house, circus guy, a guy named Gary Morgan, up in the Hollywood Hills, and see the Hollywood sign right from his house. Okay. Beautiful, right? Video guy came there. Steven was there. I did exactly what I said I was going to do. A very short piece. The only thing that made it long was they wanted to know my name and what I've done, you know. So I detailed that. Stunt coordinator, second unit director, action actor. They asked me to name movies. I mean, you know, I took 5 minutes to do that and literally 15 seconds to say what happened. Sure. And then they did Conrad. It's beautiful, beautiful scenery, back of the Hollywood sign, in front of the Hollywood sign, you know. And Steven said some things, and that was the end of that. We stood for 5 minutes and we left. I got a phone call from Conrad a couple of days later. Something went wrong with the video. It didn't come out. So he wanted me to do it again. So I said, I don't really want to do this again. There's nothing that didn't come out. Conrad said no. So where we're going to have Beverly Hills Hotel. Now ask Steven all these questions if these things happen. You know, Mr. Interview, that guy who interviews Steven Seagal next time. Conrad called me up and said, we're going to have it at Beverly Hills Hotel. Pretty fancy hotel. You know, one of the best in the world. So I got there, you know, we've already discussed other situations. You know, we met in the parking lot. We went there. He shot a video. It all came out right. I did what I just told you I was going to do. Conrad carried out just much, much longer, you know, probably a good 30 minutes, you know, and I won't get into that, right? But I will say, if all this never happened, right? And first of all, why would he want to have a meeting with a two-bit stuntman like me? You know, a punk kid from Brooklyn, as I state in my book,
Sure.
Right? Why would it be so important? You know, is it just, am I a punk kid from Brooklyn? Do I have a good reputation? You know, am I believable because I have a good reputation and I have a backstory about everything I've done in a movie career? You know, does it hold a little legitimacy? Ask Mr. Interviewer, ask that. Okay. When I got into the Beverly Hills Hotel, I've already told you what happened, I think, more or less in detail, right? That place he rented was beautiful. It must have cost thousands to rent it for a day, you know? So why would he spend thousands when he can have it outside sometime? Maybe go back to Gary Morgan, and it's a pretty fancy place. Mm-hmm. So why would he do all this, right? And I also asked on this third meeting, Beverly Hills Hotel, Ron Bilecki was there. So ask Ron Bilecki about what I've already told you what happened at the Beverly Hills Hotel. So I pose all this, right? What I tell you out there in the audience, in Magic Land, everything I said was true. You know, like I said before at the beginning, you know, Steven is a damn good actor, you know, but he knows what I say happened. And anytime if he wants to have a meeting, anytime Rhonda wants it, anytime Joe Rogan has, anytime anybody wants to have it, I'll take a lie detector test. I'll tell you the same thing. That's exactly what happened, right? No more, no less, you know.
I
Steve,
really
stop it already.
I really
ask him all these questions. No, because I'm really surprised, I would say, you know, let's keep it light, with Steven Seagal, because, you know, he's so adamant and it's such a good mistruth, you know, and I'm surprised at everybody else, you know, because it's really no big deal. I mean, it's Gene LeBell and it's Steven Seagal. So don't mess with anybody with Gene LeBell's power. You know, you should have known better. And if you just stop it, Steven Seagal, and make it funny and admit it, it'll all be over. Meet with Gene. I'm sure he'll like it. I'm sure he'll enjoy it. You make it, like I said, humorous, make it funny. Sure. You know, create a situation. It'll be hysterical and everybody will forget it. You know, what do you expect? You're going to beat Gene LeBell? You're going to get the better of Gene LeBell? That's like, you know, ask Bruce what happened. You know, Bruce Lee had so much respect for Gene LeBell. Everybody has so much respect for Gene LeBell. In Gene LeBell's heyday, Nobody could ever touch him. So you got into a confrontation with a god, Steven Seagal. That's a plus. Gene LeBell beat the shit out of me 1,000 times to demonstrate. I'm proud of it.
Sure.
Kick my ass every time.
Yeah, no shame if somebody...
If I got upset and I tried to punch him, and if I did connect, boy, he made me pay for it.
I'm sure he did. Yeah.
And I laughed. And I wore it with a belt of honor. So you should
Sure.
do the same, Steven.
Yeah, I mean, there's no shame if somebody of Gene LeBell's caliber got the better of anybody. I mean, what do you expect? So I always found it amusing, Steven Seagal's version of the story. I don't know if you've seen that on YouTube. There was like an interview, I think, with Ariel Helwani from UFC. I think he's like a commentator on there. And Steven Seagal mentioned they were doing stretching exercises very gently. And, you know, he was stretching his back out and just kind of flipped him over, but not in a negative way, but just like as part of the stretching exercise. So I always found that version to be amusing.
Yes, very amusing. And first of all, in some videos, I saw 3. In some videos, he states it never happened. Now he's coming up with a stretching story.
Sure.
First of all, you know, Gene LeBell isn't a stretcher. You don't need to be a stretcher.
Yeah.
Like you and I.
And we were just doing some stretching.
You know.
Hey, real quick, Steven, like so we talked about this on the phone, but the audience doesn't know yet. Why now are you so convinced that this incident took place on Marked for Death as opposed to what everybody thinks, what everyone's been saying for probably 20 plus years, that they think it was on Out for Justice? Why are you so convinced now that it was Marked for Death?
All you can do is take my word for it. First of all, there's no Steven Seagal shows that Lincoln and I worked on besides Marked for Death.
Aside from Marked for Death is what you're saying.
Yes. Out for Justice, I did work on Out for Justice, but they cut me out. I got a contract on it. And there's a funny story. Conrad Pomzano was doing the show. That day he had to leave. So he gave it to Jeff Dashnaw, stunt guy from Stunts Unlimited. Now he's in another group. I don't recall. They switched, but that doesn't matter. His name is Jeff Dashnaw, right? That's the show that I disarm him, and he disarms me, and he didn't like it, so he didn't want to do it.
Yeah, great chapter in the book, by the way.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, my God, what they did to a guy named Mike Adams on that show. Someday I'll tell you the story, a stunt guy.
So essentially, though, Marked for Death, you're convinced, definitely Marked for Death, strictly because you know for a fact Lincoln Simons was there, was the other witness, and that's the only Seagal movie you guys worked on together. So basically, it had to have been Marked for Death based on Lincoln Simons, correct?
Yes, sir. But let me state, you know, if you think about it, use common sense. It doesn't matter what show it was on.
Sure.
It doesn't. It happened.
Mm-hmm.
It happened. It's out there. It happened. And the reason why I'm so assistant now, because all these years, for years, 25, 30 years, 35 years, I ignored it. Or 25 years. How long has it been? 30 years?
About 30, yeah.
You know, but I hear all this stuff from other people, and it's built up. And then I wrote the book.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm hearing it again. And then people text me and say, you know, go to this video on the YouTube channel and see what this person says and that person says and Steven Seagal says. And then people hit me up since I've wrote it in the book. So I tell the truth. I tell you what happened. And what other people say makes me out to be a liar. And they weren't there. And I mean, you can call me crazy and a lot of other things. And people do call me crazy in a good way, I hope.
Sure.
You know, but people who know me very well in the business. But I'm not a liar. I'm not a liar. You know, I've lost friendships. I've lost jobs because I told the truth. I've always made it a rule. So believe what you will, but that's what happened. The fact is it happened.
Yeah. Don't doubt that at all. But you know, because people are saying out for justice, and now it does really seem like it was marked for death. It seems like it's a Mandela effect. It seems like it's a Mandela effect. You know what that is? Have you heard of those?
No.
Well, I don't want to butcher it. I got the exact definition here.
Nelson Mandela?
Yeah, it's related to him because, yeah, in 2010, there's like a shared false memory phenomenon was dubbed the Mandela Effect because a lot of people thought he died while in prison in the 1980s, but he actually died in 2013. So essentially, the Mandela Effect is a phenomenon where a group of people remember something differently than how it occurred. So conspiracy theorists believe it's proof of an alternate universe. Well, doctors think it's just an illustration of how imperfect memory can be sometimes. But I always think it's funner to think of like an alternate universe. So maybe like it did happen on Out for Justice, but then the on the other, you know, universe, it's actually marked for death. So there's so many examples of this like all over YouTube where people like remember different things from like the 80s or 90s. And this is going to be a new Mandela effect where everyone, because I've even researched and I'm looking at articles from like these MMA websites from like 2012. They're saying Out for Justice, it happened. I mean, this goes way back, but now we're like shifting. It's like creating like, well, actually it happened on Marked for Death. So in an alternate universe or however you want to think of it, but we're creating a new Mandela effect here.
Everything I said, you know, all the meetings, listen to what Seagal said. 1 minute it happened, 1 minute it didn't happen. Ask these questions to Conrad Palmisano, ask it to Ron Bilecki, ask it to Steven Seagal. You're going to believe what you want to believe.
By the way, I need to get Steven Seagal on this channel someday. You know, I'm one of the guys.
Call me right away.
Yeah, I'll let you know. But I'm one of the few guys on YouTube that are actually quite respectful towards Steven Seagal. So maybe, who knows, maybe I'll get a shot.
Listen, and this is important. I have the utmost respect for Steven Seagal. He's a fantastic movie martial artist. I have respect for his art, for his style. I'm a fan of his. But you don't lie about a situation.
Sure.
That's it.
All right, now for the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is the special Steven Lambert edition. So the first comment, the good comment, comes from Caleb Phipps. This is on the Dragon the Bruce Lee story video that I did with Mr. Steven Lambert. Caleb Phipps commented, "I bought the book and it's awesome. Glad you talked to Steven." So I'm glad I'm not the only one saying this book's awesome. So I'm telling you guys, trust me, buy the book. There are so many good stories, even on so many movies that I would never talk about on the channel. For example, the story he talks about on the Titanic, that's gold. It's comedy gold. You guys got to get that book. It's linked in the description. So I'm glad you guys are buying it. I've seen a lot of comments like that, and you guys are enjoying the book. And, you know, I wouldn't recommend it if I didn't think it was good. It's good, trust me. Okay, so the bad comment comes from that same How Jason Scott Lee Prepared for Dragon the Bruce Lee Story video I did. Scorch1028 says, Steven Lambert is ticked off that all these celebrities haven't acknowledged him. Well, he was paid to do a job and he did it. How many people thank their plumber years after he fixes their toilet? How many people stay in touch with their plumber? Steven Lambert has taken these celebrities' lack of acknowledgement of his services way too personally. That's so lame. So I replied, well, I see where you're going, but Jason Scott Lee was a nobody prior to that film, and Steven even recommended Jason be cast as Bruce Lee, and then spending month after month preparing him and spending the majority of the day with him, building his confidence, etc. It would only make sense that Lambert would want some acknowledgement and gratitude, which would be justified and a lot more deserving than a plumber who spent an hour fixing your sink. So in general, this really reminds me of that scene from Rocky V.
Congratulations, a sensational upset victory, and you're now the champion of the world. How do you feel?
Never better. I'd like to say thank you. I'd like to thank the man who made this happen. The man who's been like an angel on my shoulder. Mr. George, what's the Duke?
And there you have it, a new champion of the world.
Okay, so the ugly comment was from that video, who would really win the quest, and other fun insight into the Van Damme Classic with Steven Lambert, who was a fight coordinator in the film. MJ Dub said, not to be a dick, but this guy seems like, I don't know, he doesn't know as much as he thinks. Some Frank Dukes vibes here, LMFAO. So Steven Lambert shared an amazing story about Frank Dukes with me, and I'm going to share that with you guys in a future video, so stay tuned. It's an amazing story. All right, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thanks for hanging out to the end. Make sure to subscribe, make sure to like the video, and I'll see you on the next one. A lot of exciting content coming in the future on this channel.